Just imagine staring into a piece of glass and seeing a hostile shape that mimics your every move, but your brain cannot make the connection that the shape is actually you. For most species on Earth, a mirror is a terrifying anomaly. It doesn't offer a reflection. It presents an aggressive, persistent intruder that has somehow breached their territory. We see this in our own homes when a dog furiously barks at a mirror, or a cat swats at the glass, entirely convinced there is a rival living inside the wall. Our ability to instantly recognize ourselves is a rare evolutionary trait, and for decades, scientists have struggled to find a reliable way to measure it in other creatures. In 1970, psychologist Gordon Gallup Jr. developed a methodology to solve this. He secretly placed a small, odorless mark of dye on an animal, somewhere they couldn't smell or feel it. The animal passes the test if it looks at the reflection and then uses that visual information to reach up and touch the mark on its own physical body. Large primates handle this with ease. Chimpanzees treat the mirror as a tool, opening their mouths to inspect their own faces and checking parts of their bodies they've never been able to see before. Research shows that Asian elephants possess the cognitive ability to pass the test as well, indicating this kind of awareness isn't limited to primates. In one study, an elephant named Happy was marked with white paint above her eye. When she stepped in front of the glass, she paused, lifted her trunk, and pressed the tip directly to the mark on her own forehead. Human toddlers cross this threshold around 18 months of age. Before that point, they will reach out to touch the baby in the glass, but eventually the brain connects the visual dots, and they reach for their own nose instead. These results established the mark test as the definitive threshold for self-awareness. It supported the long-held assumption that a large, complex mammalian brain was the primary requirement for a deep inner life. This mammalian hierarchy was disrupted in 2008 when researcher Helmut Preyer ran the test on an animal sitting outside that lineage, the European magpie. Preyer placed a brightly colored sticker right beneath the bird's throat, a spot impossible for the magpie to see without the aid of a reflection. When placed in front of a mirror, the birds looked at the glass and used their claws to scratch directly at the sticker on their own bodies. They cleared the ultimate cognitive hurdle with a brain that looks nothing like ours. It lacks a mammalian neocortex and is roughly the size of a walnut. A bird with such a rudimentary brain structure passing the same test as a chimpanzee suggests that our assumptions about how consciousness evolves are deeply incomplete. If a bird can pass the test, an animal that shares nearly 98% of human DNA should find the puzzle trivial. Yet the results for gorillas have been consistently surprising. These apes almost always fail the mirror test. They often avoid the glass entirely, glancing at it only sideways or ignoring it for days at a time. Daniel Pavanelli discovered the reason for this failure by looking at the rules of gorilla society. In gorilla dynamics, locking eyes with another individual is a direct, aggressive challenge. To stare into the eyes of the stranger in the mirror is to initiate a fight. This suggests a collision between human methodology and primate social rules. The mark test may be a poor diagnostic for a species whose instincts prevent them from engaging with a reflection in the first place. The gorilla's social refusal indicates that the mark test is a flawed measure of self-awareness. This flowchart illustrates what the test actually measures, whether a species prioritizes visual information over deep-seated social rules. Species like dolphins and magpies rely heavily on visual curiosity, making them uniquely compatible with a test designed around the eyes. Biologists call this the Umwelt, the unique sensory world that any specific organism inhabits. A dog lives in a world of scent, while a gorilla lives in a world of rigid eye contact etiquette. A failed mirror test exposes the narrow sensory biases of human research, which often overlooks the diverse ways animals process their environment. Humans exhibit the same instinctual behavior as gorillas in specific, high-tension social settings. On a crowded train, you instinctively shift your gaze downward or to your phone to avoid eye contact with a stranger. In these moments, ancient social circuitry in the brain takes control to diffuse tension, temporarily overriding our rational actions. Animal cognition is a diverse web of unique adaptations tailored to the specific survival needs of each organism. When an animal fails our tests, it likely means we haven't learned how to ask them the right questions in a language their instincts actually understand.